In the world of mixed martial arts, few fighters command attention quite like Suga Sean O'Malley. From a high school dropout to now UFC bantamweight world champion, O'Malley's journey to the top has been nothing short of remarkable. Born and raised in Helena, Montana, O'Malley discovered his passion for combat sports at a very young age. And with unwavering determination and self-belief, he manifested his entire career and rose through the ranks to become one of the most exciting fighters in the entire sport. Last year, O'Malley achieved his dream of becoming UFC champion, knocking out Aljamain Sterling in spectacular fashion to capture the bantamweight title. Now he looks to avenge the only loss of his career as he faces Marlon Chito Vera at UFC 299 in Miami, Florida this Saturday night. Today on ChampMind Studios, I'm diving into the mindset of the Suga Show. We're going to figure out what makes this young man great from a mindset and mentality perspective, and then I'm going to teach you how to apply those very same principles into your own lives, into your own goals as you look to unleash greatness. Let's get after it. Welcome to ChampMind Studios. My name's Mitch, and this is the channel where you come to elevate your life, because I talk about the mindset of world champions, some of the most successful people in the world, both past and present. And I figure out what makes these individuals great from a mentality and psychological perspective. And then I teach you how to apply those same principles into your own lives and goals so that you can manifest the life that you want, to become the very best version of yourself. Because guys, it's 90% mental. It really is. And once you learn that, and once you realize the power of your own subconscious mind, that's when you take your life to the next level. And that's what this channel is all about. And today we're talking about a young man that knows that better than anybody else, and that is current UFC bantamweight world champion Suga Sean O'Malley. And guys, I gotta be honest with you, for the longest time, and I'm a little ashamed to admit this, I was a huge O'Malley hater. I really didn't think much of this guy, even though you could tell, you could tell very early on the dude was talented, particularly with his stand-up game, his striking precision, his ability to utilize angles and movement, and his knockout power, which, it was very, surprising because he didn't look like a guy that had a lot of power, but he's got it. He hits harder than, anybody else in that bantamweight division. But he just doesn't look like the kind of guy that screams badass, UFC fighter. He looks more like a Fraggle Rock Muppet, if I'm being totally honest. And I know that's kind of horrible to say, but I wasn't a huge fan of his early on. And I was of the belief that the UFC was really just kind of giving him favorable matchups. He was fighting these guys that were primarily stand-up fighters that were tailored to his style, tailored to make him look good. And I was just, very, very much not a big believer in the Suga Show. I wasn't a big believer in the Suga Show until he went in there against Petr Yan. And he was ranked number 11, fighting the number 1 guy in the division. And yeah, that was a close fight, very close fight. Every time I watch it, and I've watched it a couple of times now, the first time I watched that fight, I was drunk, so I was watching it out of Buffalo Wild Wings, so not really in the best mindset to judge a fight, but I thought Yan won the first time I saw it, and I was screaming robbery. Then I watched it again, and I was like, you know what, I think O'Malley might have gotten that, and every time I watch it, I have a different opinion, and I judge it a different way, but regardless, O'Malley showed the world in that fight that he's the real deal, that he has grit, that he's not just this flashy striker that can beat up on lesser competition. This guy has that championship mentality. This guy has that dog in him. But in spite of that impressive Petr Yan decision win, I still thought Aljamain Sterling was going to expose him. I was telling everybody, I was like, listen, Aljo is going to take O'Malley down at will. O'Malley's not going to be able to stuff those takedowns. If Petr Yan was able to take O'Malley down multiple times, what do you think Aljo's going to do to him? And I look like a moron because O'Malley, in the most spectacular, most Conor McGregor-esque way possible, he stops Aljamain Sterling in that second round and takes that bantamweight title home with him. So I was wrong about O'Malley. I will freely admit that to you. I was dead wrong about this young man. And the reason why this guy is a superstar, this guy is as successful as he is, it's because of that mindset. This guy understands the mind game better than, dare I say it, better than anybody else in the sport of mixed martial arts today. I mean, he's wise beyond his years. He has that level of, understanding of the power of the subconscious mind that people that are, 10, 15 years older than him don't understand. So we're going to break that down here today. But before I get into that, if you're new here, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and ring that notification bell so you do not miss out on the journey that I'm going to be taking you on here on ChampMind Studios for the foreseeable future. I'm breaking down some of the most successful individuals and teams, both past and present. So you don't want to miss out. All right, so the first thing I want to break down as I unravel the mindset of Sean O'Malley, I want to talk about his emulation of Conor McGregor. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video. I wasn't a huge fan of O'Malley's because I looked at him as a guy that was trying too hard to emulate Conor McGregor. And we see that with a lot of young fighters today. Everybody's trying to be like Conor McGregor, and I don't blame them. Listen, that if you're going to emulate somebody in the sport, why not emulate the guy that made the most amount of money, that became the biggest star in the sport? Why not try to emulate and follow in their footsteps? The problem is that when McGregor was on his rise and when he was climbing through the ranks in the UFC, it was authentic. It came across as authentic. And everybody else after him that's trying to kind of, emulate that style, it just seems like it's forced. It just seems like, listen, I mentioned this when I talked about Ilia Topuria. I said the same thing. I was like, this guy is just trying too hard to be like Conor. But the reality is, it's a very, very smart strategy to follow, because Conor McGregor is a guy that understood manifestation, is a guy that understood the power of the subconscious mind, and truly deep down believing, but not only that, but living in the end. Whatever your goal is, whatever you are trying to get in life, you have to already feel like it's yours, and you got to go to the end. You got to go to the end. That's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way when you speak these things out loud. Typically, most people that are manifesting, that are, believers of the law of attraction, most of the time they keep that to themselves. But when you're a high-level athlete and when you're competing in a sport like mixed martial arts, a lot of times you're going to speak out loud, you're going to be doing these interviews, and you're going to rub people the wrong way. But the reality is, Sean O'Malley already knew that he accomplished his dreams before he accomplished them. He was living in the end. His goal and his dream of becoming a UFC champion, in his mind, he already accomplished it. Now, is that going to piss some people off? Is that going to rub some people the wrong way? Of course. But who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Are they going to pay your bills? Are they going to support you? No. But if you go to the end, if you get into that feeling of your desired reality already happening, and you totally immerse your subconscious mind into that feeling every single day, your subconscious mind is going to get to work to push you into that desired reality. That's ultimately what manifestation is. A lot of people take it the wrong way. They think it's just some kind of magic, mythical, ask a genie for a wish and it grants it to you. It kind of is. But there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of action that goes along with it. But when I talk about subconscious, the difference between conscious and subconscious, a conscious thought, a conscious action is something that you have to think about in order to do, right? Subconsciously, you don't even have to think about it. It just happens like that, just like breathing, just like if you're walking somewhere. It's a subconscious action. So when you get into your subconscious and you tell your subconscious that you are a world champion, you are a UFC champion, that subconscious is going to start getting to work, and it's going to push you in inspired actions that are going to lead you to that world title. That's what happened with Conor McGregor, and that's exactly what happened with Sean O'Malley. Now, the average person is going to tell you that you're delusional, that you're tricking yourself, that you're fooling yourself. And this is why I'm telling you, most people should probably keep these things to themselves, because when you start getting all these people in your life, and it's usually the ones closest to you, when they hear you speak these things, they're going to tell you, well, that's stupid. No, you're not. You're never gonna do that. And then you start believing what they're telling you. So most people, most folks watching this video right now, when I say go to the end, I'm not telling you to go on Facebook and post these crazy, declarations that you're a billionaire and all this stuff. Keep it in your mind. Keep it in your mind when you do your meditation, when you do your scripting, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. This is what you're going to use to get into that feeling for your desired reality. And again, the average person is going to try to tell you you're delusional, but the most successful people in the world believe that delusion and make that delusion a reality. They push it into existence through their subconscious thoughts and through inspired action, regardless of what people are telling them is not possible. Everything seemed impossible until somebody did it. And all of the greats, all of the wealthiest people in the world, the most successful entrepreneurs, most successful athletes, business owners, they all know that, and they all understood that, and that is what, that was a big part of their success, was that understanding of how to get into that subconscious. Sean O'Malley understood that very, very early on in his life, and he dropped out of high school I think during his sophomore year because he was tired of wasting his time. Now, let me preface this by saying I don't recommend that. For anybody watching this video, if you're still of high school age, don't do that. Don't drop out of high school. Get your high school diploma. O'Malley still needs to get his GED, and listen, O'Malley was a little bit of a different breed because he was already kind of, building that MMA career when he was 16 years old. He already had a lot of talent and a lot of coaches that were, scouting him at the time and saw his potential. The average person, don't do that. Stay in school. Stay in school. I want to be very, very clear about that. You can still manifest everything you want to manifest in life, but an education is extremely important. But O'Malley was an anomaly, right? So he dropped out of school in his sophomore year, and then eventually he started pursuing this career in MMA full time. He met a gentleman by the name of Tim Welch, who is still O'Malley's head coach to this day. And Tim Welch saw O'Malley at 16 years old in a kickboxing match. And, Tim Welch has a ton of experience in combat sports and an eye for talent. And he saw this kid O'Malley, and he's like, there's something special about him. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he just knew this kid had that it factor about him. And he took him under his wing, and the rest is history. O'Malley, he very, very quickly grew into his own, grew into an elite fighter. And next thing you know, we see him on the very first season. I think it might have been the first episode of Dana White's Contender Series. I could be wrong. It was the first season for sure. It might have been the very first episode. But regardless, he debuts on Dana White's Contender Series. He's got Snoop Dogg calling his fight. Snoop Dogg and Uriah Faber, which we talk about the most ridiculous commentary team in the history of MMA. That's up there. I mean, that's probably, if there was an award for that, that's winning the award every single time. Snoop Dogg was high off of his mind, as he always is, and he was a big fan of O'Malley early on. O'Malley, I'm sure, looking back, he's got to thank Snoop Dogg for the over-the-top commentary that he provided to him that night. Because when O'Malley won that fight by knockout, you just hear Snoop Dogg just high off of his mind screaming, "O'Malley! O'Malley!" along with some other, profanity and dropping N-words and F-words and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that definitely helped get O'Malley some attention. It was a spectacular knockout performance too, But I think without the Snoop Dogg commentary, O'Malley might have had a little bit of a different path. But nevertheless, that was the start of the Suga Show. Sean O'Malley, very quickly, after that Dana White Contender Series fight, became practically a household name. You know, he became very quickly one of the top prospects in the entire UFC, much less the bantamweight division. And prior to that, just a few months before that, O'Malley wrote down on a piece of paper that he was going to manifest $10,000 because at that point, O'Malley had never seen 10 grand in his life. That was the most amount of money he had ever seen, and that was what he was looking to manifest. He manifested that and then some because he got to that desired reality. He got to the feeling of the end. And he changed that 10 grand. That 10 grand became 50 grand. That 50 grand became 100 grand and so on and so forth. But when I talk about go to the end, there's a difference between feeling as if you already have it than being desperate and trying to do something. Because there's a different message that you're sending to your subconscious mind. When you tell yourself, yeah, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to be, I want to get that promotion. I want to get that A on my exam. When you keep saying things like want, what you're doing is you are actually telling your subconscious mind that you don't actually think you can do it because you're leaving room for doubt. You're leaving that, well, I'm being realistic, right? I'm being realistic, like I want it, but realistically, I don't think I actually can get it. I don't think I actually deserve it. You don't realize that these are the subliminal messages that you're telling yourself when you say things like that. But if you go to the end, I already have $1 million. Or, man, it's so amazing. It's so amazing the life that I have. I've never had an issue with money. Money naturally comes to me. Success naturally comes to me. That promotion is already mine. When you get into that mindset of the end of your desired reality, that's the subliminal message that you want your subconscious to feel. You want your subconscious to hear because you start reprogramming your mind to take that inspired action to get there. So how do you actually do this? Because let's be honest, a lot of this is easier said than done, and I will freely admit that to you. This is not going to be easy. You're going to have times where you're in meditation or you're just, in thought throughout the day, and you're going to have, again, there's two voices. There's two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf. And that bad wolf, no matter how much you're telling yourself, oh yeah, like I already have this, or oh yeah, I'm gonna be the biggest YouTuber in the world very, very soon. That bad wolf is gonna tell you, brother, you're an idiot. You are a fucking moron. No, you're not. You're never gonna do that. You need to be realistic. And you're gonna start, no matter how much you try to push that voice out, it's still there. It's still chirping away. And the more you feed it, the louder it gets. So this is done through tremendous amounts of repetition, just like with anything. If you're lifting weights, you're not going to start benching triple your body weight within the first couple of weeks of lifting weights, right? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of getting those reps in, right? Getting that progressive overload in. It's the same thing with your mind. You got to progressively overload your mind through a mental diet. And there's a lot of methods out there. There's a lot of different techniques, a lot of different meditation techniques, scripting techniques. Ultimately, you have to find what works for you because what works for one person might not work best for you. What Sean O'Malley likes to do is he is big on meditation. And he's talked about this openly in a lot of interviews. His coach, Tim Welch, actually got him into meditation. And what O'Malley does is for 10 minutes a day, sometimes a little longer than that, he'll sit there in silence and just follow his breath. He'll just start by following his breath. And, you're going to have thoughts. Biggest misconception with meditation is you got to block out all thoughts, but you can't truly block out your thoughts. Even the best monks in the world that meditate for hours and hours a day still have thoughts coming through their mind. It's not about blocking out the thoughts. It's not about, oh my God, a thought just entered my mind. I screwed up this meditation. I got to start over. Nah, man. You become aware of everything. Become aware of your breath. Become aware of those thoughts. And go on to the next thing. But what it is you sit there, you observe the breath, you focus on being present, being in the present moment, and once you're totally relaxed, once you're in that, that trance, that meditative trance, then you start visualizing. Then you start visualizing your desired reality, and again, you go to the end. You immerse yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Neville Goddard, if you don't know who Neville Goddard is, he was really the one that kind of brought all of this stuff into light way back in the day, way back in like the early 50s is when Neville Goddard started speaking on what he calls the law of assumption, which is basically what you assume in your subconscious, you can manifest into 3D reality. It was essentially the same thing as the law of attraction, but just another way of spinning it. But what Neville Goddard talks about is you have to go into what is called the state akin to sleep, or SATS, which is right before going to sleep or right before taking a nap, is when your body is about to drift off into an unconscious sleeping state. That period of where you're right before going into sleep, where you're still conscious but you're drowsy, that is the state akin to sleep, and that is when your subconscious is most susceptible, and that's when you can really start reprogramming your mind, almost like a hypnosis state. It's almost like hypnosis, and I've done this myself. I've been able to manifest some really crazy things in my life utilizing SATS. Now, I've not perfected this yet. It still needs some work, but I will sit here and I will tell you that this shit is real. And every successful person in life, I guarantee you, they do this or some form of this. And Sean O'Malley does it better than anybody else. So you don't necessarily have to, do what I do, which is I basically, before I go to sleep every night, I will go into that SATS meditation and I'll fall asleep visualizing my desired reality. That takes a lot of hard work. That takes a lot of discipline to get there. But if you just start with 10 minutes a day, or even just if 10 minutes is too much for you, start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes every single day. Just sit down or lay down, get in silence, observe your breath. If a thought gets into your mind, that's okay. Just get back to the breath work, in and out, right? A lot of people, what they do also, and this is what I do, I'll count backwards. I'll just pick a number like 65 or some random number, and I'll count backwards to 1. And then once I get down to 1, I start visualizing my desired reality from the end. So you have to pick a scene in your mind that would imply that you've already accomplished what you're trying to manifest. So, for example, if your goal is to ace an exam, visualize a scene in your mind. And this is important too. You have to put it in the perspective of you doing it. You can't do this from the perspective of seeing yourself. You have to put yourself in your own, your own conscious being. So through your own eyes, not through the eyes of somebody else, right? And you have to visualize yourself. So in that case, acing an exam, create and craft a scene where somebody is congratulating you on acing that exam, and then feel what that emotion would feel like, right? All of those emotions of, satisfaction, of maybe a huge weight being lifted off your shoulders, getting that stress lifted off of you. What would that feel like? And totally immerse yourself in that and play that scene and repeat multiple times. And, again, you can do this for 5 minutes. You can do it for 10 minutes. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to do this. You want to get to the point where you're able to do this before bed and fall asleep, with that scene repeating in your mind over and over again. It's a very hard thing to do. Again, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, especially if you're somebody like me that I tell people I got ADD because my brain is going all damn day. So it's not something that you're going to be able to do easily. If you do this enough, I guarantee you'll start to get really good at it, and I guarantee you will begin to change your life. You will start manifesting things in your life the same way Suga Sean O'Malley is manifesting the career that he's on right now. Another thing about O'Malley, that I think really sets him apart from the rest of the pack from a mentality perspective is that this guy just has an unwavering belief in himself. Regardless of what everybody, he's got a big fan base, but there are still some haters. I was one of them for the longest time. Like I said, he still has some haters out there that are talking shit about him, that are saying, he picks and chooses opponents now. Like he picked and chose Marlon Vera when he should have fought Merab Dvalishvili. So he's still hearing all these critics. He's still hearing these naysayers that are chirping, that are talking shit. But in his mind, the Marlon Vera fight is the one that makes the most sense because that's his only loss in his career. And in O'Malley's mind, it wasn't a real loss. He's still undefeated because he believes that it was a fluke injury. He was winning that fight up until the end. And so he wants that rematch back. He wants to start his championship run by proving that the only guy that has a L against him wasn't actually good enough to beat him. But this is, where I say this guy's special because it's kind of an unusual route. You win a title, you win that championship, you're going to fight the number one guy. Marlon Chito Vera, as good as he is, he was not the number one contender. He lost to Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, he came back. He beat Pedro Munoz, but he was not ranked in the top 5 even. I think Marlon Vera is ranked number 7 right now. So the perspective of, he's ducking Merab, he's ducking Sandhagen, he's ducking all these guys, that's not shaking him. That's not shaking his mindset because this guy knows exactly what he's doing. So we might not agree with the path. I was not a big fan of this matchup either. I did not agree with it. I don't like seeing guys get title shots that aren't really in title contention. And I like Chito Vera. I think he's a great fighter. I don't think he should have got this title fight with O'Malley, but I understand why we're doing it, and I understand why O'Malley wants it. And this is, again, what sets him apart, is that just unwavering belief in himself. Regardless of what people are saying, he doesn't give a shit. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to find his own path. And he is, in his mind, a superstar. And that superstar mindset has been manifesting into reality because O'Malley is, without a doubt, one of the biggest stars in the UFC today. I know there's been some talk about how, he's not quite as big of a pay-per-view draw as originally reported. But if this guy keeps winning, if he keeps staying on this path, you're going to see O'Malley making some big money. I'm not saying he's going to, necessarily get into that Conor McGregor marquee status, but he has potential to get close to that. He really, really does. Again, I was not a huge fan of him, but I got to give the guy credit. What he's doing is remarkable. And, listen, whether or not he goes on this huge run and defends the title multiple times, or if this championship run is going to be cut short, listen, Marlon Vera could beat him. He really could. I'm picking O'Malley in that fight, but Vera's dangerous. He's already got a TKO win over O'Malley before. You can call it a fluke. I know O'Malley thinks it's a fluke, but it was still a TKO win. It could happen again. You never know. But I really believe this kid's mindset is so strong that you're gonna see some. This is not the peak of Sean O'Malley's career. Like him beating Aljamain Sterling and winning the title is not the peak. I think the best is yet to come when it comes to Sugar Sean O'Malley. But with that being said, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, again, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and ring that notification bell. But until next time, let's unleash greatness. Boom!